Welcome to Business Success Tips, where you learn to make more money in less time and hopefully have a lot more fun. I'm your host, Paul Sanneman. I'm founder of Contractor Staffing Source. We help contractors build great teams. My guest today is Reikowsky, special guest from Legacy Business Leaders. Now, I've been a coach for 50 years. You're probably close to me, right? Like, not many of us have been around now. Right?
True. I'm right there with you, Paul.
And we're still here, right? That's
right.
So that's a good thing, right? I've been coaching more, but so, one of the things I want to ask you, Fred, is you've been coaching for a long time. And people listening to this, they go, do I need a coach? Do I not need a coach? I think a big question is how you choose a coach, right? So maybe you could give some insight on who should use a coach. I'd be everybody, but that's my opinion. And how do you find a coach that's right for you?
Yeah, those are great questions. And especially in our industry, and I'm speaking primarily with the home building industry in mind. That's my specialty. That's what I love to do. Those are the people I love to work with, especially builders that are looking to scale and create enterprise value for their organizations. But choosing a coach is a big step, and I would suggest that probably every single builder in the United States and beyond really needs a coach. The key is, are those business owners and leaders ready to really admit that they need a coach and that a coach can really add value to them? So that was me for a long time too. I was very presumptuous. I know I can get this done. I can handle it on my own and so forth. So I don't want to be or sound presumptuous on this call either. The fact of the matter is that if indeed someone decides, it might be a good idea to have someone come alongside me. I have some burning questions. These issues don't seem to be going away and so forth. How do I even find a coach? Well, the key is, you said, Paul, is finding a relationship. And that's what coaching is all about. It's a relationship of accountability, of sharing and delivering mutual value to one another. And it happens. The coachee isn't the only one receiving value in these relationships. The coach does too. And I would be widely mistaken if I said, look, I can be the coach for everybody. No, that is definitely not a true statement. But the fact of
but to me, it's sort of a long-term committed relationship, right? And it's sort of like, finding a spouse. I mean, you need to do your research. I guess you can go to AI now and say, find me a coach, but I'm not sure that would work very well. But to me, I have a couple of things. I wouldn't have a coach that you wouldn't have to dinner. That sounds sort of crazy, but, somebody you don't actually like as a human being. Because I think maybe we can address this. My issue with coaching was there's always a fine line between telling somebody what they need to hear and not getting upset so they fire you. They're paying you for this advice, right? It's like firing your trainer because you don't want to work out. So so it's a sense of relationship, and so how do you think people listening? How should they find a coach, and what would you look for in a coach?
Well, that's part of the relationship that you have to establish up front, that somebody has permission and you're willing to give them permission to speak into your life and business. And like you suggested, say the hard stuff that might offend somebody at some point in time. A lot of times I do just step back in a coaching relationship and ask permission. Hey, there's something going on here. I need to tell you. Are you good? Can we talk about this, et cetera? But when you're looking for a coach, it's that kind of trusting relationship you have to figure out. I tell people, look, we need to have a meeting with all the stakeholders first. We need to talk through this and understand how and if I can add value to you and your team and your organization. And then if we do, I don't have people sign a contract. I tell them flat out, look, if it is not working, we need to stop. That's a fact of life, and we will not go forward with this. I will not go forward with it if I sense that there's no value really being added. So it's really a matter of vetting it. And yeah, you're right. You said earlier, you got to talk to 2 or 3 people. AI has a place in our industry for sure, but that's not it. AI is not having a relationship with a human being.
Right.
So that's really important. You can go, by the way, to a coach's website and you can start, and this is a start, it's not an end all and be all, but you can start by understanding what that person or organization's core values are. If they're not listed, then I would suggest, man, if core values aren't at the forefront of this relationship somehow, then I'm not sure this is the right individual organization for me.
Okay. So tell me about your background. How did you become a coach, Fred?
I was a builder for 33 years, and I ended up being really I felt called to do some nonprofit ministry work, and so I sold my business and went into coaching. Along the way in my business, I had been involved in teaching and training in the industry, which I found out I loved doing. And then in my nonprofit years, I met a guy who happened to be a business coach. He was a former pastor. And he said, yeah, I moved over to business. I said, what is business coaching? I really didn't even understand it. And he explained it. And coincidentally, the organization that trained him was right here in my area of Ohio. And so I hooked up with them and got certified, and then away we went. So it's been a really amazing 15 years now of coaching. And I wouldn't trade it for anything.
So what do you look for in a client, Fred?
Yes, what I look for in a client, first of all, is congruence of values. That's number one. Number two is I look for an attitude of humility and a willingness to learn, a willingness to be vulnerable enough to say, yeah, I screwed this up, and I really need some help with it. So the next thing that I look for is what are your real aspirations here? What do you want to do with this organization? A lot of times, and this happens frequently, it's unintentional, but people come back and they try to answer that question. They really can't, at least not with a measurable outcome. What do you want? Well, I want to grow. I want more business, etc. Those aren't goals. So in that initial conversation, I really ask them and challenge them to quantify those goals. If they can't, it's probably not going to be a good relationship. But almost always, when they're prompted to do so, they will come up with some kind of measurable goals. But congruence in core values and personality styles is one of the number one criteria.
Now, what do you mean by congruence in core values? Can you explain that a little deeper, please?
Core values are basically our core non-negotiables. Those are the things, the principles that are near and dear to us that we won't compromise for anyone. They're what we will stand to defend. We'll go up the mountain and defend them. And they're few and far between. But when people are challenged to sit down and really wrestle with this question and come up with what those are, everybody has core values, and every company is running by some kind of core values, but they just don't know it. So they really don't understand what are the parameters by which we can make our best decisions as an organization. Mm-hmm. If we're committed, all of us, all the stakeholders, including our staff, if we're really committed to those core values, and that's what a core value is after all, it's something we're committed to, then honestly, it's going to be very easy for us to make good decisions.
Give examples in core values, like your core values, the core values you look for?
One company that wrestled with this for a long time, they said that customer service, because I do a 60 core values assessment. I have them really start there and start the process. And they said, well, customer service. I said, well, tell me more, because once they determine what the word or words are that describe this heartfelt, emotional-based core value, core values all too often are thought of as something intellectual. They're not. But this company started wrestling. I said, okay, tell me, what's the phrase you would use to describe this to your staff? Being the best or whatever. They really wrestled, but finally came up with this really succinct core value. It's uncompromising customer service. Okay, now it became a lot more clear for their staff. Well, what does that mean? So they've created a phrase to go with that so they could train it and teach it quickly and understand if somebody was congruent there. And that phrase was something like always going above and beyond. So you begin to see that once you identify the words that resonate in your heart, mind, and soul, then that phrase is how you can then transfer and train that core value with your people. Remember something, Paul, this is important for every business owner who's listening. We can't impose core values on anyone.
No.
We have to find common ground, a congruence. And if there's a disparity in core values, this is almost always where conflict happens.
That's right. Like, one of the core values, I mean, I use a set, the 4 agreements. I think those are some great core values, but, always do your best, tell the truth. I mean, those are like fundamental things. And if people don't tell the truth, and people only lie 10% of the time, you never know when the 10% is, right? So you can't trust anything they say. And some companies, the truth is optional. It's just a value. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just a value. And some companies, it's not optional, right? And some companies say, do your best. And some companies say, do what you must do to get by. And those are not wrong or right. They're just different, right?
That's right. Yeah. And those would be called circumstantial values. That means they change every time a new circumstance comes into play. Those aren't core values at all. Those are just ideas. So the core values take a lot of real hard work for an owner and a leader, especially in the initial going, because most people have not considered what are those principles for me that are near. What is it? I ask them this way. What is it you will not compromise for anything? That values. Explain that to me. What is it? Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of times it'll come back in the initial stages, something very generic. Well, I'll be honest. Absolutely be honest. Have integrity. Yeah, integrity. What does integrity mean to you? Well, they can't answer it. So the idea here is to push people really hard in the initial stages to challenge themselves and come up with something that's tangible.
Now, I have a question for you, Fred. What could a client expect from a coach? I mean, what is it? More money, less time? Is it, feel better about their business? I mean, what are reasonable expectations a client should look from with working with a coach?
Yeah, really good question. In other words, how do we measure value? And at the end of the day, what I've found, Paul, is that I can talk all about people, profit, processes, and whatever, all that stuff. And those are all relevant things. They need to be talked about. But at the end of the day, I need to be challenging that person's assumptions every single meeting. I need to be talking to them about what is it you believe that you assume is true about you and your business and your people, for that matter. Because honestly, that kind of a mindset, once you begin to evolve in that global thinking about what is it that I've been assuming, because assumptions are deeply embedded in our psyche, in our soul even. And we grow up with them. People teach us things that aren't necessarily true or even valuable about life. And so in business, especially, if I'm not challenging that individual, I find out those meetings are never good. Right. They never end well. And I go away thinking, man, what did we just do?
I just had a couple that come out. One was, I just spoke to the other day, and he says, well, every time I do a bigger job, I don't make as much money, right? And that was because he wasn't pricing out of it. He had the assumption that bigger jobs, you don't make as much money. And that was a fundamental assumption, right? Which obviously affects his business hugely, right? Another one when we deal with it, well, there's no good people to hire. I mean, those assumptions can really get in your way,
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's one of the ways you've really added value for a lot of my clients, to the idea that, hey, there are good people out there. And I've told my clients this for years, you know what, don't even tell me that, please, because there are good people out there. There always have been and there always will be, but it's an ongoing chronic industry challenge because it's an assumption. And right. People don't know how to recruit. They don't know how to interview. They're not adopting this mindset of constantly, like you say on your website, constantly recruiting. It's huge for a leader.
And I think part of that is, you're right, your assumptions, well, then if there's no good people, then chances are, because your assumptions control your reality a lot of times. Or if you
Absolutely.
say, bigger buildings don't make any money, or I think when we got one as a kid, a lot of us got, in order to make more money, you have to work harder. That's like a baseline, assumption. And if you believe that, you can create it in your life. It doesn't have to be that way.
Oh, man, I was so scripted with that growing up. My dad was a builder, and I used to be on job sites, when I was 10, 11, 12. And like you said, the fundamental mindset was to go faster. If you're dogging it, you're going to be called out. And that was a deeply embedded in my mindset, especially my early years of business. And I had to understand over time, it's not about speed. And this is one of the topics I speak frequently with home builders. It is not about speed. It's about velocity. They're two entirely different things. Speed is just going faster, whereby you end up recycling a lot of old issues and problems. But velocity is speed with a purpose. That means I've got specific purpose in my life and my business, and we're going to devote every single resource, finite resource that we have toward accomplishing that outcome.
Right. And, one of the big ones I had as a coach is, you got to believe you create your own reality, because the minute you're any kind of a victim, and I don't care, you blame the government, you blame your mom, you blame your dog, pick one, right? The minute you aren't accepting responsibility for what's going on in your business, I don't think you're coachable.
Absolutely. The victim mentality, again, is one of those things, as I mentioned, that we're deeply scripted with and conditioned with. It's always somebody else's fault. But honestly, just transcending that one single issue alone was a huge milestone for any builder or any leader for that matter. The idea that I'm going to take ownership, and that's where real value begins to happen. Too many of us are scripted with wins. We got to get a win. Well, what is a win really? If a win really it takes place outside of the parameters of my core values and my real purpose in life, what's important to me, it really isn't a win, is it? It's just another thing that a trophy we can hang on the wall that really doesn't mean anything. And this is where I really try to embed this mindset of taking personal responsibility and making sure that what the work you're doing is that, ironically, with that kind of a mindset, you get more wins. And that's a fact. It happens. And honestly, until someone really realizes that and begins to get a taste of it, it's really hard to get over that hump.
Well, I know there's the philosophy that opportunity and adversity are just opposite sides of the same coin. I know I was listening, Jim Rohn's now passed, but I remember I was listening a lot, and he said, I can tell you your future. 100% know what it is. It's going to be adversity mixed with opportunity. You can't change it. And, if you go there, you go, hey, I'm good with that, right? But if you expect I'm going to build a life that's all opportunity, no adversity, you aren't living, I don't think. I mean,
oh, man. Wow, what a great statement. And you're so right. To really live a joy-filled life that is satisfactory and gives you a real sense of peace of mind, that's something to be pursued every day. There's two kinds of constraints in our businesses. One of them is external. It's all the stuff like you mentioned, my mom, the rain, the interest rates, the weather, right. The world. Those are all external constraints, and that's a level playing field. We're all playing on that same field. There's no real major difference for any of us. The key constraints are internal, and that is the stuff that that tends to be self-imposed, and starting with our attitude toward our business and our people, and then building an infrastructure that will bear the weight of conflict over time. That's where the real rubber meets the road.
Right. And, he also said you work harder on yourself than you do on your business. And I think that's a fundamental truth. But it is, it's when I was doing a lot of coaching, that was the stuff. It's funny because I had some clients for, 15 years. I'm never exactly sure what I did, but both felt better, right? It was like a pot, he was happier and I was happier, and it was, both, we just did great. Other businesses, I'd make a guy, I literally net him $1 million in 2 years or a year, and he'd quit. I go, it's about relationship. It's not about whether you make a bunch of money or not. I mean, it's good to have those benefits to me. I mean, but it all comes down to, peace of mind and some of those intangibles. Because you make twice
Absolutely.
as much money and you're miserable, who wants to go there, right?
No, absolutely. And that's one of the things about coaching. There are those out there that would say, well, coaching is just about asking good questions. No, I'm sorry. In my years, I've calculated this up, based on some of the statistics out there, over 10,000 hours of coaching now. And, it's very simple in this business. It has to include three things: coaching, counseling, and consulting, all three. Without those three combined together, honestly, I don't know that I could ever deliver that ongoing value like you described. I've had clients too for 7, 8, 9 years. And for that very reason, we have to address the human aspect of everything we do and help people become healthier, healthier emotionally, as well as physically, as well as on a business standpoint.
Actually, right. I mean, I have I actually have 100,000. That's a scary thought. 100,000 hours of coaching, like crazy number, right? But
Wow.
I look at that, and there's only three things important in coaching: relationship, relationship, and relationship. I mean, it's all about the relationship. If you value that relationship and you feel that relationship is making you a better human being and improving your life, it's a good relationship. If that relationship is deterring from you, you don't want to show up, and you get bad energy, a little airy fairy there, then it shouldn't be there. And
that's right.
That to me is how you choose a coach. It's based on relationship. And I mean, track record is important, systems are important, all that other kind of stuff, is valuable. But when you're looking for a coach, just don't say, oh my God, they've got 56 videos or 40. That stuff, it's nice, but it really doesn't matter. What matters is relationship. And that's why I want to present people like you, because I want people, when they're choosing a coach, to look at the relationship. And so I think people should, if you like what you've heard, Fred, you should give him a call. And there's different methodologies. There's some coaching companies that base everything on systems. They just give you a system. It's sort of like, watch the video, here's the system, and it's systems based, which is okay. And there's others that are relationship based, which you have a relationship with the coach and he's your coach and your buddy. Other times you mean this team meeting with 30 people. So I'm not saying they're good or bad, they're different. And you've got to find what you are comfortable with. And I'll say one thing: if after a meeting you feel bad, but it helped, and you go, God, he was right. That was a good meeting. I mean, he may have pointed out something you have ignored, like, there's an employee you should fire, or there's something you should, and you haven't done it, and he keeps calling your attention to it, and you go, oh man. But in your heart that this is right, and he's just supporting you making that decision. That's a good coaching meeting. If you go away from a coaching meeting, you don't do anything, don't feel anything, good, bad, or indifferent, you're sort of showing up, fire coach, and get a new one.
And you can tell it. You're right, Paul. You can tell it really quickly in any meeting by the level of commitment, engagement that the client takes. When they're committed and engaged, you can tell the questions they're asking, how much they're paying attention, what they're writing down, et cetera. You can figure all that out pretty quickly, and then you can shift gears, is my point, as a coach, and really back up and just challenge them with questions like, tell me, what are you getting out of this meeting right now? What do we need to do different to ensure that you're receiving some value? Because I don't want to waste your time here. And I think the reverse is true as well, hopefully. But yes, the relationships, everything. You mentioned a really good point here, because that relationship idea really needs to be embraced and cascaded throughout that owner or leader's business too. It's no less true in that business with all the stakeholders that an owner has in our industry. There's so many of them, and those stakeholders all are people who stand to gain or lose something. And if they're not gaining something by virtue of the relationships you're building, honestly, at the end of the day, then...
and you look at this industry, if you look up the numbers, has a 50% turnover, and the average bad employee costs you $50,000. Crazy numbers, right? Our company has like 0% turnover, and we have people all over the world. But that's because of the relationship everybody has with each other. I mean, it's sort of like family, for lack of a better term, right? I mean, people actually care about each other, and they care about each other. And I don't know where you put that on an org chart, right? Love. Where does love fit on the org chart, But it's probably the most important thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to start on my org chart templates. I'm going to start putting love at the top. How's that?
That sounds good.
That's a great point. But you're right. It's so true.
Okay.
People are people everywhere. People seek significance and meaning in their life. And if we're not helping them gain that somehow or some way, honestly, then I don't think we're delivering any value to anybody.
Agreed.
But there's a lot that falls under that heading too, and that's another topic perhaps, but it's an important one.
That's true. Fred, thank you for being here. And as one coach to another, it's a great profession, and you're right, you both get something out of it. It's not a one-way street. So I would say, if you're looking for a coach, or you're not happy with one you've got, give Fred a call and interview them in a meaningful way, not just how are you going to make more money, or give me 10. I mean, references are important, but it's about feelings, and heart. And I know what that is on an org chart, but emotion to me is what carries a relationship. It's not just intellectual. So, Fred, I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I so appreciate having me on, Paul, today. Best of luck to you, and let me know if there's ever anything I can do for you.
You too. Thanks, Fred.
All right. Take care. Bye.